Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user, well, this is awkward. I, 30 male, found out recently that my wife, 29 female, has a Snapchat account whose only friend is an unknown male. Some background. We have been together for 11 years total, dating and marriage. In that time, she's maintained a lot of old friendships with people from her past, mostly male than female to my chagrin. I'm not surprised. She's a very pretty woman, funny, outgoing, and more than once I've been told that there have been too many men who wish they'd gotten a chance to be with her rather than me. Some have told her outright and some have told me. That means there are also more than a few girls who don't like her, so logically I can see her ratio of friends being a bit skewed. Now to the situation at hand. While we were both asleep on the couch after putting our son to bed, I woke up to her phone buzzing about a Snapchat message. That had been my first knowledge that she even had that account. The next night, foolish, I know, I opened up her app and saw that she registered it with an old email account I thought she had since long abandoned. She's been posting pictures and videos, nothing inappropriate, but nothing that wouldn't be out of the ordinary on affirmation-seeking subreddits or something, and only has one Snapchat friend, a male I have never met before. I don't use Snapchat anymore, but I know what it's for, both officially and unofficially. I didn't see the usefulness for me personally. I also know you can send pictures and messages privately without posting them on your timeline, and there has been some private communication between the two of them. Again, nothing outright scandalous, but there's definitely a slight hint that they may have met up for lunch. Yes, I snooped. Nope, I don't feel any better about that, which is why I'm here. If it were to just share photos of yourself and what you're doing, and she had no other outlet, I would understand that, but she maintains an active Facebook profile with many of the same photos, but not all. I've seen a few photos and videos that were exclusive to her Snapchat timeline. It occurred to me that I'd probably seen them months ago when I was looking through her picture roll to find images of our son to share, which she was fully aware of. But I just thought that these were pictures she didn't feel like sharing online for whatever reason and never thought about it. Now that I see she has an account, I wonder if that's where she's been posting them. When I saw her account tonight, I saw she had posted multiple times throughout the day. To me, that seems like she's sending the photos and videos to that man only. She hasn't had a history of infidelity, but she's never been one to dissuade any guy from talking to her for any reason, even if it was mostly because they found her pretty. In the past, I just dealt with it because she hasn't had a history of hiding these messages. Except once while we were dating, and even then it was more of a lie by omission type thing. And it's not right for me to tell her not to have guy friends who are attracted to her, especially when I have female friends and she can't control who finds her attractive. I like her having her own life. It gives me mine, and it gives us something new to talk about other than the same old how's work and how's the baby conversation, but I think this may be towing the line closer than I'm comfortable with. Now, I want to confront her, but I don't know how. I don't want her to think that I was constantly tracking her or that I can't let her live her own life. But I also think having a single friend on this one social site doesn't send the right message. I was planning on talking to her tomorrow, something along the lines of, hey, I saw your phone had a Snapchat notification and then I saw all you had posted and that this one guy is your only friend. So you're basically sending it to just him. But I'm looking for a better way to handle this or to express that thought. We haven't had a fight in years. As far as I know, it's been a very smooth relationship since we said I do, but I'm afraid this may stop that streak. She doesn't like severing friendships for any reason. Even to stop talking to her abusive ex was a long and trying process early on in our relationship, so I'm not too keen to make it a rule. We have agreed to have some laws laid down in our relationship that we can never break. For example, I can't go into any restaurant, but I can order takeout. I'm okay with that. But I feel that may be the only dickish option. Well, OP, you definitely need to talk to her. Is what she doing dodgy? Yeah, definitely does not look good that she only has one friend in Snapchat. It's a male and basically is the only person who can see her timeline, which she does post stuff on. Now, apparently you read their conversations and there isn't a hint of emotional cheating, to which some people might say, well, maybe she's just not saying that there and she's only doing that in person. But then why just use Snapchat and not a more secure app? And also, how come you have this free access to her phone? Somebody who's usually cheating would keep their phone really close to them. So maybe call me naive, but I don't think she's outright cheating. What she's doing is not right. Absolutely agree with that. But I don't think she's cheating, or she hasn't gotten to that yet. So I don't know if I would outright confront her as in accusing her of anything, but I'd ask her, why does she have Snapchat? That you saw that there was a notification on her phone the other day that woke you up and now you're curious about it. I would think that after that question, whatever she says and the way she reacts would be a good indicator of what's actually going on. And what do you guys think OP should do in this situation, or what would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Rapboy24 says, confront her is best. Tell her that while you were sleeping the phone rang or something and you saw Snapchat with this unknown guy. Be calm and ask her who is he, and then go on after that depending on what she says. And OP responds, that was a quick reply, thanks. I guess the question is, how do you confront that issue? I mean, you, personally, you're obviously not invested in this relationship unless you're the mysterious Snapchatter, in which case the irony would actually be hilarious. What would you say? Antioch75 says, beyond the good advice you've already received, I think you also need to learn to communicate better with your wife. There is no way that I would ever be uncomfortable talking to my wife about pretty much anything. 13 years married and 18 together here. That you cannot think of a good way to talk to her about this is a problem. And OP responds, I'm all ears at this point if you have any good ideas. I guess we never learned how because there wasn't a need in the past to have this kind of talk. The last time I brought it up, live a mission event, we were dating and I had access to her chat history on some instant messaging account because we shared a PC. We were only married 4 years ago, dating for 7 previously, and at the time she felt it violated her trust enough to warrant breaking up, or at least a break. Obviously, that didn't last too long, but since then, it's been relatively smooth sailing, so perhaps I am rusty when it comes to that sort of thing. Deleted says, reading your story, my feeling is that you are probably a little naive. In my view, if a woman closely associates with another man's sexual attraction can easily arise. Actually, sexual attraction is always in the back of a man who befriends a woman, unless he is gay. Smiley face. And since your wife is pretty, she's gonna have a lot of these kind of friends. So then it depends on the woman's moral strength not to give in to that if she feels the same way. And often they can't resist. That is how all the cheating happens, especially when alcohol is involved because it diminishes self-control. So, to me the purpose of the Snapchat account is that your wife is out to be intimate with him. Behind your back, that is. You should talk to her about it like the other Redditors have advised. And to be frank, you should ask whether or not she is attracted to this guy. If she is, then ask her to cut off contact. If she doesn't want to, then you must ask her if she can ensure you she won't sleep with him. And OP responds, I have been called many things. Naive has been definitely one of those. Logically, what you're saying makes sense, but perhaps it's just a thought that I don't want to entertain yet. I can honestly, hopefully, say alcohol hasn't been a contributor here. She hates any moderate drinking, and I'm thinking it just hasn't progressed far enough to the point of her acting on it. She's been a historically very prudish woman once it comes to sex. Or at least that's been my experience. I'm hoping it's the same in the rest of her life. Alright, well the community gave OP a lot of things to think about and he has been listening to what they're saying. Now there isn't any additional context that wasn't in the comments that I've already read, so it's time to move on straight with the update to see how this story ends. So after the largely helpful advice from all of you, and surprisingly only one worthless comment, I confronted her early the next morning, which wasn't hard for me as I had probably gotten about 3 hours of sleep that night. I told her how I had found out about the account and asked who the user is. It turned out to be one of her older friends from before we had met, and she had gotten on it because she wanted to follow certain celebrities and internet personalities. She claimed that she had the account for a while, but had only since gotten active on it within the past week or two and couldn't figure out how to add other people. I didn't believe her, but I could feel myself getting angry and knowing I speak first before thinking when I'm upset, so I decided to leave for work, incidentally arriving the earliest I have ever gotten there in the past 5 years. Before I left, she said she didn't care for the app that much and would delete it now that it was an issue. We texted throughout the day and she maintained her innocence. For some reason or another, I find it easier to communicate with typed letters than spoken words, so I brought up the stuff that Reddit had posted on my own concerns, mostly about how suspicious it looked. She apologized profusely, promised to never talk to that person again in any capacity, and just didn't want me to be mad at her. I told her she was going to have to wait for me to calm down, and we would talk about this in person at a later date. The next few nights at home were awkward and quiet. A few days later, we did indeed talk. She had deleted the app, removed his name from her phone contact list, and agreed that if he ever tried to contact her again, she would decline it because it was inappropriate to talk to her. To my credit, this man had been a particular thorn in my side since we were dating. She saw him frequently, but I always picked up on the feeling that he didn't see her as just a friend or respect our relationship. There were and are other friends of mine and her that find her attractive, but they respect both me and our relationship. I brought up the private message, how incredulous it was that she couldn't figure out how to add anybody else. She claimed ignorance, which wasn't hard to believe. I'm often her personal IT support. Where he was able to get her username from, I don't remember. I guess one of the texts we had a long time ago? I don't remember who requested who. And if she found him attractive, not really, was her response. To her credit, she said as the year progressed with me, she saw that he was more and more inappropriate and would stop him from saying certain things, but didn't want to cut off the friendship because she didn't want to be perceived as being mean. I told her that's what has to happen sometimes because not everybody's meant to be your friend all the time. She claimed that his immature behavior was more of a turnoff, a fact which, while I don't 100% believe, I do find is in line with her past. Immaturity is a huge turnoff for her. She said that our relationship and marriage were more important to her than any friendship she has, so cutting this man off was of no consequence to her. She told me during that time all of her friends would tell her how great of a husband I was and how much they wish their own spouses would be like me. Yeah, I'm that guy. Yes, I'm bragging. I'm not saying I ever felt like I was taken for granted, but I think that's what was happening to her. I was the good husband who made her life easier, and she had never thought about losing me before. This woke her up to that. Yes, she can screw up badly enough to lose me, and that would be a downgrade to her life. In the end, while I don't 100% believe everything she had said about how much they had communicated, I don't think she actually did anything beyond text and conversation and the occasional lunch. I think she liked the friendship with a physically attractive male and she felt that she could control how far the situation went. I didn't see why she would test those boundaries in the first place. She said she saw how she was wrong in this entire ordeal and how it won't happen again. She deleted his contact in front of me. Now, it doesn't mean to say she didn't try to hide it in another contact or memorized his number beforehand, but I'm forced to believe her. After all, if she really wanted to continue communication with him, she could get a cheap second phone, have his email address, or figure out some way to stay in touch in this day and age, which is surprisingly easy. I'm forced to believe her because the alternative is a marriage where trust doesn't exist, and that's a good way to kill a relationship. Besides which, I believe she deleted him. I suppose I have to trust her with this going forward. I don't want to be the husband who always suspects that any guy she smiles at or who talks to her will lead to an affair, and really, that's what marriage is all about. Trusting each other to do the right thing. People make mistakes sometimes. Those mistakes can be huge, like tripping crotch first onto somebody else's nethers repeatedly, or relatively small, such as letting somebody develop inappropriate feelings or not cutting them off. I think in my situation, it was the latter, and she understood that, and I have to trust her not to do it again. After all, if you can't trust your own spouse, who you entered into a legal agreement to be your literal significant other in the eyes of the law, family, friends, and whatever deity you personally subscribe to, then what's the point of marriage at all? Anyways, after the conversation, we had some sexy time. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Well, OP, I'm gonna call this a happy update for you because your marriage didn't blow up and apparently you diffused something that could have taken a really bad road. I don't know if I believe everything she said, but the only reason I don't think that she was cheating is because you always had full access to her phone, and usually somebody that cheats never lets it out of their sight. And in the end, OP, I think you chose right, because if you can't trust your spouse, then what's the point of marriage? So on that note, I'm gonna wish you both the best in the future, and take care. Thank you for sharing, OP. Now let's finish off this video with a mood booster. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user tbross11. Absolutely no overtime! Sure thing, boss. I work for a very large corporation in the IT department. I worked my way up from first level support to the back office team, also known as escalation team, like second level but slightly above them. I essentially fix business critical issues that are escalated up from the first level and second level. On the back office team, we are a team of 6 and we all have certain areas we specialize in but are cross-trained in all areas to help cover when people go on vacation or call in sick. My area of expertise is the network team and another area that I cannot say or will give away what company I work for. But to put it in perspective, the company I work for owns several hundred retail locations from coast to coast in the USA. Because we are in the last fiscal quarter of the year, the budget is tightening. Not because the company is low on money, but because all of the upper management wants to stay within a certain range so they can get their bonuses for saving the company money. So a very strict no overtime policy is implemented. At first, I didn't think anything of this because I preferred to work 40 hours a week and spend time with my family. But there was a particular incident this past Friday that fueled my malicious compliance on Saturday. As I said before, there are 6 of us on the back office team, but on Friday we had one guy off on PTO and a couple of call-ins, which just left me and another guy working. We will call him Matt. Matt worked the opening shift and I worked a later evening closing shift to cover the West Coast. Because it was just the 2 of us, we were pretty busy. As the day wore on and closer to Matt's quitting time, we were slammed. We had 4 locations where their network had gone down and I was dealing with 2 techs on site I was trying to guide to setting up new equipment. When 5 p.m. hit, Matt asked management if he could stay an extra 30 minutes to help me out. Management gave a very quick and hard no and reminded us of the no overtime policy. So Matt had to leave at his scheduled time and leave me with a huge mess to try and fix. I worked the rest of the night on back-to-back issues and I was able to get them sorted out before it was my quitting time, but I had to work through my break. That is when I decided I would not overextend myself and will follow the new policy. The next day is when the malicious compliance started. I was working the Saturday shift, and since Saturdays are slower, just 2 of us are scheduled. Well, on this particular Saturday, the guy I was supposed to work with called in sick, and because no overtime was allowed, they couldn't call in another to help me out. As the day wore on, I was increasingly busy being the only back office person working. During the last hour of my shift, something broke on a server side and dozens of stores were not able to perform transactions or take credit card payments. I worked hard to resolve it, but the end of my shift was nearing. Cue malicious compliance. The end of my shift hit and I made 0 strides in fixing the issue, but because we were on strict no overtime policy, I clocked out and left, leaving dozens of stores down and unable to make money. I forwarded the information to the on-call supervisor, but they rarely check anything over the weekend, so the issue went untouched until Sunday afternoon when management finally saw my reports and emails from Saturday afternoon. The company lost countless dollars in sales, probably in the 6-figure range at least. My phone was blowing up all day Sunday as management tried to get further details from me, but because of the no overtime policy, I could not answer my phone as that would require me to log hours and that would be overtime. So I did not speak with management until today. When asked why I left work without fixing the issue, I simply showed them the no overtime policy emails they have sent out every week for the past few weeks. They quietly dismissed me back to work knowing they had messed up and caused this. A few hours of overtime cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is such a perfect example of how stupid and unlogical greed is. Thank you, OP, so much for sharing us this lesson. It was a chef's kiss. Mwah. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I really did enjoy reading them to you. So if you did, then don't be shy and go ahead and give the video a like. And don't forget to subscribe or even share this video with people that you might think will enjoy my storytelling. Also, if you have the time, go down to the video description and check out all the links I have for you, from our Discord community to my channel merch. And finally, I'd like to say thank you for watching. It really means a lot to me that you enjoy my videos. And having said all that, I'll see you guys in the next video.